Why is Ali a problem? A, because he's the closest to Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Nobody is as close to Rasulullah as Ali ibn Abi Talib. B, Ghadir, there's too much of a wording there to indicate that he's bigger than everybody else. C, he's not present. So what did they want? They wanted him to pledge. Hold on a minute. If you people are already in power, why are you so adamant that Imam Ali has to pledge to you? You know, what's your problem? Say Imam Ali, for example, said, no, I don't want to pledge to you. Why do you have to force a pledge? We know in Islam, a bay'ah, which is coerced, is not a bay'ah that can be accepted. A bay'ah has to come from the heart. It cannot come from, if I now get somebody to come to the Khalifa, and I'm like, give bay'ah, and I've pointed an AK on his head. That person, even if he gives bay'ah, at the end of the day of judgment will say, they forced me into giving a bay'ah. But what happened was, if you read literature, you'll find these companions, where did they gather? The house of Fatima and Ali. All of them were gathering in that house. Your Amir al-Mu'mineen, your Zubairs, your Salmans, they were gathering in that house. What is that house, by the way? Who's in that house? In that house, there's a young boy. He's 8 years old. He's called Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. And in that house, there's a young boy called Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, 7 years of age. And in that house, there's a young girl by the name of Zainab alayhi salam, 5 years of age. And there is another young girl who possibly might be called Zainab as well, but a smaller Zainab. We may call her, for example, Kulthum alayhi salam. And there is a lady by the name of Fatima, daughter of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who's pregnant as well at that time. So this, we will call it in our language, a young family. Do you agree? Yeah, because Imam Ali alayhi salam is in his 30s, Fatima al-Zahra is in her late teens, and they have kids. Again, go to the non-Muslim out there. Say to a non-Muslim, if there's a house where there are children there, even the non-Muslim will say, listen, if I've got a problem with the elders of the house, put the kids aside. Don't touch any of the kids. It's a non-Muslim who would say this. When all of these were gathering in the house, they were telling Imam Ali alayhi salam, Mawla, what do we do? As in, look what they've done. They've gone to Saqifa, and they've had this skirmish in Saqifa. They've had this election take place. When they were gathering in this house, discussing with Imam Ali alayhi salam, there are two texts I want you all to read at home, and they're not Shi'i texts. One of them is the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, and the other is Tarikh Abu al-Fida. These two texts are available in Arabic. I don't know if they're available in English, but they're certainly available in Arabic. If you look at them, there's something which is interesting, which occurs in both these texts. What is it? Umar's threat to burn the house of Fatima. In both these texts, Umar ibn al-Khattab, because of what? Not because of Fatima al-Zahra. But Umar ibn al-Khattab has a problem that why are these people not pledging allegiance to Abu Bakr? Why do they have to? If Abu Bakr is chosen by Allah and they don't pledge allegiance, even then you shouldn't attack them. Because the man greater than all of them, chosen by Allah as his final prophet, if you never pledged allegiance to him, you were not attacked. Did anyone ever go to the house of the munafiqun and say that there's a family in the house, I'm going to burn the house down? When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa was alive, ever do you find, because we find ayahs in the Quran that says, وَلَوْ كُنْتَ فَضًّا غَلِيظَ الْقَلْبِ لَنْفَضُّوا مِنْ حَوْلِكَ. If you, O Prophet of God, were hard-hearted or you were severe, people would have run away from you. Umar ibn al-Khattab, in the first of these texts, the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shaybah, there's this narration from Ubaydullah bin Umar, from Zayd bin Aslam, from his father Aslam. What is the narration? The narration tells us how Umar ibn al-Khattab has a discussion with Fatima al-Zahra while these are all in the house. He says, we respect you. Nobody's more beloved to the Prophet, to us than you. But if these people think that they can gather in this house and dissent against the government, we will burn the house down. Who's in the house? See, when you say, I'm going to burn a house down, who's in the house? If you want to look at Sunni political theory, Some of the people in that house are going Jannah. They're promised Jannah. So I'm going to burn a house of people who are going to heaven. Me and them are going to coach. We're going to link. We're going to relax in heaven. It's absolutely crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Of course, we could look later on. People started to write names of hadiths. People, they're all going Jannah. But at that moment, if you think logically, if Umar ibn al-Khattab burns the house of Fatima. Remember, this is not a Shia book, just in case someone says, this is your Shia literature. Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba, it says that he says to her, listen, we respect you, Fatima. I'll make it clear to you. They continue to gather in this house. Why? Because they are descending against the Islamic government. And if you dissent against the Islamic government, then you're going to have to be burnt. If that's Islam, then as-salam ala al-Islam. Peace be upon Islam. If that's Islam, even I wouldn't want to be part of that Islam. He says this, therefore the threat has already begun that I'm ready, Umar ibn al-Khattab, I am ready to burn a house, which the Prophet used to say, Assalamu alaikum ya ahlul-bayt an-nubuwwah, outside that house, where the Prophet used to recite, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلَ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. He used to recite outside of that house. Umar ibn al-Khattab is now ready, according to the Musannaf of Ibn Abi Shayba. And in Tarikh Abu al-Fida, you found the discussion there as well, where Fatima tells him, but you know what this house is? He says, well, if we're going to have to burn it, it's going to have to be burnt. When this therefore takes place, we see clearly that the government that's being established is a government that is ready to get rid of any of its enemies, including the very flesh of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alih. When someone tells me, why did Karbala happen? I say, hold on. If you're willing to burn Fatima, what are the tents of Zainab? If you're willing to burn the house of Fatima, what are the tents of Zainab? I've already burnt before, and those were meant to be more religious than me. So what's the problem if I do this? If those more religious than me were ready to do it. He already knew that if Ali and Zubair and the rest of them think, and that's why you'll find medieval scholars like Ibn Taymiyyah, when they say that there is, if an attack happened on the door of Fatima, then it's justified because you're breaking the fitna of the dissenters against the government. Yeah, hold on, who's behind the door? If an attack happens, who's behind the door? You say to me that there's 4 ladies of paradise. This is their hadith. They say 4 ladies of paradise. Fatima and Khadija and Maryam and Asiya. You say to me, Fatima's a part of me. Whoever angers her angers me. You have now reached a level, and that's why every listener out there, I don't care if you're Shi'i, Sunni, Sufi, Salafi, whatever you are, you admit that there's a problem. There's a war of words between Fatima al-Zahra, Abu Bakr and Umar. You have to decide for yourself what your position is before you get to your grave. Because you're going to have to face your Lord and your Prophet one day, either saying, I loved the one who was angered, or I loved the cause of the anger. Someone says, yes, but these texts, how do they prove? What do they prove? They prove to us that Umar ibn al-Khattab felt that it doesn't matter what needs to be done, even if the house where revelation used to take place, because we know Jibreel came in that house. How then, innama yurid? Where was the house where the verse of purification took place? Jibreel came to that house. Umar did not mind, even if I have to burn the house. Not kill you, Fatima. Burn the house. Well, if you're going to burn the house, that means anyone who's in that house, even the 2 masters of paradise, even there, they can get burnt as well. When they did that, they kept on saying, Ali must pledge, Ali must pledge. Baba, if you've become Khalifa, why does Ali have to pledge to you? Why? Unless you're chosen by Allah. Even if you're chosen by Allah, why should he pledge to you? Get on with your Khilafah. Unless you know that, you know what, we need to get past this hurdle. One way or the other. That's why if you look at Nawawi or Ibn Hajar, they always are trying to justify Fatima versus Abu Bakr, Umar versus Fatima. They're trying to find a way to reconcile. Why? Because of that one hadith in Bukhari.